Bonjour mes amis, hi guys. I was just watching a video from John P on YouTube who was wondering how Seiko can charge so much for their recent divers of the Prospex line featuring the 6R35 movement and yet state an accuracy that's so wide while you can get much better performance at a much lower price from watches that have the ETA or Sellita calibers, sometimes top grade calibers from those brands. So as we know, it's really in the practice that you get a feel for a watch. You don't even need to put it in the time grapher to know if it tends to go a bit fast, a bit low. For example, I just sold my Omega Seamaster Aquaterra and I was the second owner, or maybe the third. I've owned it for 4 years and it's always run plus 3 seconds a day. And before I sold it, I had it checked by Omega. They said it's in tip-top condition, no need for a service. And it passes the METAS certification, which is a 0 to +5, just like this watch, the brand new Tudor Black Bay Ceramic, 0 to 5. So I'm going to compare the 6R35 in the time grapher to this one, to a couple of higher grade, an 8L35 and a 6L35 Seiko movements, and also to a ETA movement and a Sellita, to get a bit of a better feel of the average you get in all 5 positions of the COSC certification, especially the main 2, I think, which is the 3 o'clock down, which is basically when you walk, and flat, which is usually how you put it at night, and how it's going to be most of the day when you're on your desk, maybe a bit more tilted this way, but basically flat. To me, those are the 2 most interesting, and the average there is the most revealing usually. I will also check the delta between the highest recorded performance minus the lowest, to see if it is within spec of Seiko. So that's going to be quite interesting, and usually I find that the results that I see conform to what I feel in real life. I can already tell you that I always had pretty good luck, maybe, or maybe it was just better built with the 6R15. So the lower power reserve versions of the 6R35. So all the new ones have the 6R35 with 70 hours of power reserve. Now the 6R15 had maybe 42 or 48 hours of power reserve, but the same spec, minus 15 plus 25 by Seiko, but my SARB 033, 035, for example, always ran pretty close to 0, and even my 4R movements that I had in my Samurai, for example, and a Turtle, kind of were pretty accurate. So you might see on a time grapher wide variance, but it's really the main 2 positions that matter and really depend a bit on how you use them. I tend to sleep with my watches on rather than put them flat, but anyway, when I sleep they tend to be quite flat anyway. What's interesting when you do those tests with the time grapher is that you learn which position can slow down the watch. So if you have a watch that tends to be a bit too fast, you can put it in that position at night, and opposite, if it runs tends to be a bit too slow. So let's get down to business and see what's what. All right, so we start with the Seiko Prospex SPB149. So that's the reimagination of the original 62 mass 6R35 movement, beating at 3 Hertz, starting with the 3 o'clock down, which is basically when you're walking, when you think about it. And we average around here plus 13. So there's going to be little movements, especially with the Seikos, even when the watch is not moving. Now the flat position is the other main position. So when you leave it at night, or even if you're sleeping with it, or if you're at your desk, often it will be in this position. And here we see around plus 19. So the average of those 2 is plus 16. And at the end of the video, I'll show you a table with all these numbers, so it will be a bit easier to take in for you. You can already scroll right over there if you want to see and not go through all the testing. Now here we have the 12 o'clock up, so the 6 down, which is not, I think, one of the COSC testing positions, but nevertheless I tried it for this watch only, and it shows plus 11. So this watch looks like it could benefit from just being regulated down a bit, slow down a little bit. One more position here. We have the, let me make sure I'm not saying anything. Yeah, the 3 o'clock is up, so the 9 o'clock is down, which is a COSC position. And here it goes a bit faster, plus 25. And the last COSC position would be with the dial down. I don't have the footage here. It averaged there around plus 4. So overall, the average is plus 16. In the 2 main position, and also in all the positions, is around plus 16, and the delta between the fastest and the slowest is 21, which is half of the 40 seconds delta of the spec. So it is within spec, and this watch could benefit from just slowing down and could average something pretty decent. So it's one of the most recent releases from Seiko. So the watch is really fresh. I haven't worn it a lot. I haven't played tennis with it. So now you get a good idea of the performance. Where it gets interesting is comparing it to another recent watch, the SPB 151, running the same caliber. Let's see if we get anything close. Now in the flat position we have plus 10 seconds. So it's a bit better already than the other watch. Now if you remember, the other watch was running plus 13 with the crown at 3 o'clock, and that's the next position that we are going to test. And when I move the position, it takes a long time for the watch to settle for those Seikos with a 6R35. Other watches are much more immune, the caliber is much more immune to repositioning and movements and shocks. Now here the watch plunges to minus 20, and we're gonna let it run minus 29, and you see the amplitude just falling under 200. Bit error is 0.5 millisecond. The thing is just all over the place here. Minus 30 seconds, and we're gonna try to let it settle down to see at least 2 or 3 times the same reading before putting that down into the Excel sheet that you will see at the end of the video. So here we have a huge difference there in the same position than the watch before. It's like 40 seconds, 43 seconds away in the same position for the same caliber, which is really surprising. Yeah, it settled down, minus 26, minus 30. Now moving on, we have the 12 down. Here the watch is settling around minus 17. 12 down, often when you're on your desk, it is going to be, and you turn a bit your arm in natural position, that's going to be quite a long part of the day actually. And here we have the 3 up. It's a bit difficult with those watches with the crown there at 4 o'clock. I'm trying to angle the thing to get a precise positioning. Here we have the 9 o'clock down, and the previous watch was plus 25 and this one minus 24. This is huge. It's a huge difference. Let's see where it settles. Minus 28, minus 24. Amplitude is pretty bad. 179. Now it jumps to 116, and I'm really not moving anything here, really letting the watch rest and settle down. It's just very inconsistent. It's very hard to I almost should do an average in every position for letting it go for a minute to get something scientific at all out of this. Anyway, I wrote down minus 24, now it's 20, 22. I'll show you the whole test so you get a good idea of how much this watch is moving compared to better calibers. And finally, It's a weird position that Kosk is testing here. Flat like this. Don't see when during your day or your night your watch is gonna run like that. I think it would be much better to have the 6 o'clock down position tested rather than this one. But here I've noted plus 7. So the average is minus 11, minus 10 in the main 2 position, minus 11 total. And the delta is 40, which is at the maximum of the spec, but it is within spec. So if you returned it to Seiko, it would still be within spec. So same caliber in the SPB 185 here. I'm noting here plus 13 in the flat position, which is between the 2 readings of the previous 2 watches. And here, when we move it to the 3 o'clock down, we get quite a pretty good reading, getting close to 0 here. I've noted minus 3 for this one, but we're going to let it run quite a bit to see how it settles. And you see the amplitude is moving as well from near 300 to 266. Minus 3, 0, minus 1. So this one seems to be doing a little bit better. So the average, if we count this one as, well, I see now it's minus 5. So let's say minus 3 is the average in this position with the 3 o'clock down. Pretty much when you're walking. So the average between the flat and this one is plus 5, which is very satisfying. So we've gone from plus 16 to a minus 10 to a plus 5. So this one here looks to perform a bit better, but we're gonna attribute that to good luck, I think. Now let's try the other positions with the 12 down. It's one of the best, actually. It moves around a bit, but it's around 0. Pretty good. And then in the 9 down, we have around minus 3, and you'll see in a second the dial down plus 6. So overall, averaging plus 3. The average of the main 2 position is plus 5. So this one is by far the best, and the delta between the fastest and the slowest is just 16 seconds, which is the best performing of all 3 watches. So it makes you really wonder what it comes down to. Is there any regulation specifically on some model? I'm not going to start any rumor that this one, the Steelmaster, as I call it, has received any special attention. But speaking of attention, this Longines Legend Diver should get some, because it's getting really hard to wind, and when I screw it back on, there's a huge wobble. I have no idea where that comes from. If you know what it is, let me know in the comments. I've searched the web but couldn't find any answer. Probably needs long overdue service. But anyway, this watch has always been very accurate. It sports Longines customization, probably a little bit of the 2824-2. It's a good grade ETA movement, beating at 4 Hertz. Always been very accurate. And here in the flat position, I get around minus 7. And with the 3 down, so walking position, it is plus 1. And you know, when I move the watch around, there's no big deviations like you see on the 6R35 movements. So one thing to note is that the 6R35 is not the equivalent of the 2824. That would be the 6L35, which we're going to see in the Seiko, King Seiko, in a minute. So here, let's let the watch settle, see plus 1, plus 2. Notice the low bit error, 0.2 milliseconds, and the higher amplitude here near the 300 mark. I had tested this watch before, and it was pretty much like this. So let's see what happens when I turn it around. Instead of stopping the video, you see the path there on the time grapher remains very smooth, while with the Seiko it invariably goes all over the place like a big snowstorm. So now we have the 12 down, and the watch moved temporarily to a minus 5 seconds. Notice the high amplitude, very low bit error. So yeah, we're going to note 5 seconds. Moving it to the 9 down. And we keep track there on the screen of the performance. You see, it doesn't go crazy like minus 40 like you see on the Seiko. Here it goes to minus 7 momentarily, then settles back minus 3, and I think in this position we even gonna get back to 0. There you go, minus 1. So definitely, while this watch could use a bit of service now, the performance of the caliber is still there. It's been very steady all over the life of this watch. Look, 0 seconds per day, and I'm almost wary of bringing it for service because I don't want it to come back running plus 10 seconds. Clearly, they put effort in regulating the movement before delivering it. And that's often the problem when you buy a watch used, or even a watch that has been serviced. It's not the original spec anymore, right? Actually, as soon as a watch leaves the factory, it's not necessarily the original spec, but at least, you know, I'd like to get the delivery spec, and this is what I still have with this watch, +1. So the average in the main two positions is -3, overall -2, with a delta between the fastest and slowest of only 8 seconds, and the COSC is -4 + 6, so that's 10 seconds. So this one performing admirably after many years. I got it second hand, one of my first watches 4 or 5 years ago. Now similar here, we have a Sellita version of the same, maybe not such a high grade, but slight customization for Maurice Lacroix in this icon. So that's a Sellita SW200-1 running at 4 Hz, of course. Same. And here, this one runs a bit fast, flat, +10. I bought it quite maybe 3-4 years ago, this one as well, one of my early watches. So wouldn't be surprised if it could do better with a little service. And with the 3 down, it goes a bit faster, +12. We're gonna let it settle down. I just let the video run on this one as well, so you can see it's a bit more grainy path when you change the position. So although it's almost the same movement, it is not the same grade. It seems here it goes +15. I've noted here +16 in the 3 down. So average there +13. Out of spec, I think this one could use a regulation. However, you gotta see it worn. So we're gonna move to the other 3 positions: 12 down, 9 down, and dial down. And actually, we're gonna see pretty good numbers. I'm gonna maybe spoil the show a little bit. 12 down is gonna be +1. 9 down is gonna be 0, and dial down, which is a very unusual position, +11. It almost doesn't matter that position, even in real life. How long is it gonna be dial down? Nobody puts their watches dial down at night. So 12 down, 9 down, you're going to see very good here, very good performance. And so, you could put that watch in one of those positions at night to slow it down if you feel like it's going a bit too fast. So the average of all the positions that I see is 8 with a delta of 16. So it's double the delta of the Longines. Still good, but I feel this one could be regulated a little bit better. Would it keep that regulation? It's also the question, can the 6R35 be regulated to be, when I see the delta, I'm thinking that it can't, that it's not possible. But if any watchmaker is watching this, or if anyone has brought the watch to a watchmaker to try to regulate it, let me know. But when I see the lowest delta to be 16, it's going to be quite hard, although you might be lucky. I think my Steel Master there just reaches an acceptable daily average performance. Now let's step up our Seiko game with the actual competition, actual drop-down competition for the 2824 ETA. It's the 6L35 of the King Seiko here, running at 4 Hz, just the same. In the flat position, resting position, it's +8. You can see I'm really babysitting this one. I've put some covers. I hope it doesn't influence the testing too much. The machine seems to pick up the beat without any problem. The 3 down is +4, so average +6, which is just within COSC, which is just fine. So yeah, Seiko created a competition because, as you know, the Swatch group decided not to share the ETA 2824 with external brands, and Seiko thought, hey, this is our chance to do another one on the Swiss. 12 down we have a +12, 9 down +6, and it dial down position, very steady watch, +6. So it is, or it can be as good, I think, with an average of +6, +7, and a delta of 8. It is the same as my Longines, which is a top grade, or a very good grade, 2824. So definitely this 6L35 is a great platform. Now if we step up a notch, almost Grand Seiko level, but not regulated, they say. Maybe it is. We have the 8L35, also 4 Hz, in my SLA 045 Marine Master. And in the resting position, this one, it's kind of like reversed numbers from the King Seiko. Resting position, it is +4. Let's see what happens when we move it. See if, I mean, look first at the amplitude here, +311, and when we move it, I don't see much of a look. I turn it all the way around, still keeps pretty steady there on the grapher, which shows you, and when you play with that movement, when you change the date, it is very crisp. You can feel the quality just by changing the date on this watch. Here, +4 for the we have here the 3 down. Okay, it's moving, +6. Beat error 0, still around 300 degree of amplitude. Okay, +7. So I've noted +7. So the average 5.5. It is within COSC. But I think this caliber goes beyond the ETA 2824 and the 6L35. The feel of it is you can feel the quality in the winding, in how you set the time and the date. Now moving on to the other positions, you still see here a very steady grapher, so there's definitely quality there in how the caliber can handle shock and movement. So overall, throughout your day, is gonna hold better regulation. +10 in the 12 down position. Going to the 9 down position, you see there's no big jump there. It gradually settles. Here I've noted +3 in the 9 down position, and we're going to see in a second in the dial down is going to be +5. So all very tight, and I think this one, if it was regulated a little bit slower, you could really have it right on 0. So the average I have is 5.56, and a delta of 7. So far it is the very best performance. So what's interesting now with this watch there, with a strong amplitude, low beat error, very little deviations, is to compare it with the new kid on the block, the Tudor black base ceramic with the new caliber MT5602-1U running also at 4 Hertz. So this one, before we get to see it on the video, this one has passed the Meta certification, which is 0 to +5, which I find a bit annoying, and it explains why my Seamaster Omega was running +3. That's pretty much what I aim for. Being a bit faster is easier because you just pull the crown and you bring it to 0 when you want. While I prefer, you know, being around 0, and my roller is usually run around, well, the spec is -2 +2, and they're pretty much average to 0, +1 +2 maybe. My Milgauss is always right on the dot. But anyway, in the resting position, the Tudor black base ceramic, there you go, this is quality. 0 bit error, 300 degree of amplitude, +1 in the resting position. You turn it around, let's see a bit of action there on the grapher. How long does it take to settle? The Seikos, I cut the videos because I had to wait 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And here it moves from +1 to -3. And let's see where it settles. I think it's going to come back up. Little jump there, +9. And I think it's going to settle around +4. Let's do it live, so there's no cheating. It's a brand new watch, brand new movement, so I think it's important to share this with everyone. So the average I get between the walking position and the resting position is +2.5. There you go, very close to the middle of the 0 to +5 certification for Meta's accuracy, and very similar to what I had with my Omega Seamaster Aquaterra. Now we're going to move the watch to the other positions. The 12 down, I get +4, same as the 3 down. The 12 down get +6, and the dial down +2. So the average of all the position is exactly +3, which is exactly what I've been seeing. Because while I don't wear my Seikos long enough to really tell you in advance what the result is going to be, I could have told you the result of the Tudor, because it is exactly what I have noticed wearing it. And I wore it day and night for a few days. Sometimes I would leave it in the box. No matter what I do, it's pretty much averaging +3, and the delta between the fastest and the slowest is only 5 seconds, which is exactly the Meta certification. So there you go. Interestingly, the amplitude is a bit low, but the accuracy is just is really steady, and you know what you're gonna get. It is exactly the spec, and the spec is very high quality. So let's try to recap a bit all of this in an Excel sheet, and well, I think we've already drawn our conclusions. I mean, what is there to say, really? You get what you pay for, or do you? When Seiko starts moving prices towards the $700 to the $1,000, $1,200 retail price point, even after a little discount of 15%, I'm starting to worry about those Seikos with that 6R35 movement. I think you should just pick one that you really like. You know, for me, it would be probably the Wheeler. That thing, I really love the shape, and not invest a lot more than that. I know it's very tempting, and it's remains fairly affordable, but we're still a long way away from the $300 sweet spot of the Seikos. And accuracy, you know, to me it matters, especially if you wear the watch quite a lot. If it's not just a novelty in your collection that you just wear for the look once in a while. And definitely, when I see the difference with the Tudor, I know where my money went. And when I look at the movement from the case back, which is so cool, and the work on the case, the brushing on the bezel, you know, need I say more? Your money goes to a good place, and you know that someone put real care in designing, engineering the movement. It's not just a garbage movement. Now, very close to it, we have the 8L and 6L movements of Seiko, and those are the comparable movements to this kind of of reference, and they can be, I think, regulated really, really close. It's amazing that they say that those movements are not regulated. Imagine if they would put the effort. And I think when you pay $3,000, which is the price for those King Seikos and the SLA watches, at that point, Seiko really should regulate them and prove that they are worthy competition of the Swiss. Now the ETAs, you know, so many watches and sometimes really high-end watches rework those ETAs, workhorses, to great effect. But the base caliber there can be really good. The top grade one can be just as good as anything. And I think this test here proves it. The Sellita there is a bit behind. Maybe I'll have my icon serviced and see if it can be regulated much better. I'll let you know, because it used to run better than that. Maybe I don't remember any shock in particular. Finally, one can wonder if the additional power reserve doesn't come to the detriment of accuracy on the low grade movements. It's not easy to achieve, and many brands have improved the escapement and also the mainspring to be able to achieve a longer power reserve. To be honest, who cares about a long power reserve? If you have a big rotation, the watches are probably going to run down in power unless you keep them wound manually every day, or if you use some winders. For me, I'd rather have 48 hours of power reserve than 70 hours and have a more accurate watch when I need to use it. And if it's the watch you really love to wear every day or every couple of days, even every 3 days, then 48 hours of power reserve is pretty much enough. You don't really need the extra. It's always nice when you pick up a watch that you didn't pick up for 3 days or even 4 days or sometimes even 7 days with some watches now, and it's still running. But it's got to be done, you know, to the highest grade level of engineering. And I'm wondering if these 6R35s, you know, it's a bit of a pet peeve of watchmakers to have a smooth delivery of the power, and that's why the watches are tested by COSC, or at least by Metas, at 2 levels of power reserve, at 100% and I think at 33% of the power reserve. And you take the average of that with a very long power reserve. Are you ever actually at the top of the power reserve? How much do you have to wind the watch? How much do you have to wear the watch every day to be at the most efficient level of the power reserve on those 6R35 movements? There's quite a lot of questions there, and I'm wondering if it doesn't influence quite a bit negatively the results that we see in my testing here. But anyway, there you go. I hope this answers the questions, the doubts you might have had. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think you get your money's worth or not? I'm not so sure when you see brands like Steinhardt, you know, who can deliver better quality of movement for half the price, almost, at least $200 less than the current Seikos. That's when you start to have to slow down, I think. I love the look of the Seikos, but you know, at one point there's got to be something inside worth your money. Anyway, which one was your favorite? Any surprise there? I don't think there's really any surprise, to be honest, but it's great to see that the Tudor runs exactly as advertised. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope it was not too long, and I hope it was informative. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Give it a like if you like the video. Bye bye.